Underwood. Thin ice.
That is a common theme.
Started.
A common theme of the narrative, really, that I've created overall after a game like last night, where Illinois loses 67-66 in the Gavitt games, tip-off games. I guess Gavitt tip-off games is what they're called. And the Big Ten goes 0-2 last night. Illinois setting the tone with their loss. Illinois now 2-1 with an asterisk, in my opinion, after that game. So they lose to Marquette, and let's be honest. Marquette is not a very good basketball team. They have 1.5 good players. Morcell's good. You can throw another half in there somewhere. And Schock is a good coach. I think that's a point that you make here. I don't know why he was like banging on the floor when Illinois was on offense on his side of the floor. That didn't really make any sense. And obviously it was a ref show. We're not going to blame the refs. But my question before we get into the notes is, was Brad Underwood there last night?
I think he was there. I did see him.
Sure didn't seem like it.
Yeah, I don't understand Underwood not using a timeout there at the end. He did say, somebody asked him about it, and he said, quote, "I hate that. Then they can change defense. I don't know why as a coach you can't set up for they're either going to play man, which they played all night long and stopped Illinois the last 5.5 minutes of the game with, or they're going to run a 2-3 or something. And you set up plays for both of them. I don't understand that." And then he also said, "We practice that the last 10 seconds. We know exactly what we're running. You trust your guys, you work on it in practice. And tonight it didn't work." So they practice Curbelo driving into the lane is what is apparently their go-to at the end of the game. On top of that, Coleman Hawkins and Trent Frazier both said that the team hadn't spent a lot of time on end-game situations, or late-game situations. So something's whatever. I don't know what's going on. And I don't even care if he doesn't use that timeout there. If he's not going to use it there, if he's going to keep it in his pocket, use it when there's 32 seconds left. You got a full shot clock with 30 seconds instead of giving the ball to Trent. And he's basically trapped at half court because, of course, you can't go back over it. And he's got his back to the defender. When you see that other guy coming up, can you not just call timeout there? I mean, I don't. If he doesn't want to use it at the end of the game, I don't understand why he didn't use it there. And then maybe Marquette realizes, hey, there's only a 1.5 second difference between game clock and shot clock. We should probably foul them. Instead, what happened. I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, that's kind of my point. Was Underwood even there? I mean, he may have physically been there, but was he paying attention? I mean, it seems to get lost in these games. He seems to kind of not know what to do when it comes to rotations, or just forgetting about guys or putting in the wrong guys. Like BBV playing 9 minutes was embarrassing. An embarrassing 9 minutes, by the way. He looks like more of a tight end than a basketball player. And I don't understand the idea that let's just not give the ball to Frazier for most of the last few minutes. Like, was that a Curbelo thing or a coaching thing? I just don't get it.
Yeah, Underwood said something to the about that, and said that they tried to run plays to get Trent open and get the ball to Trent, and they didn't work out. But I don't think he ever got the ball in his hand. Maybe
Curbelo took like 327 dribbles in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it all led to nothing.
Tried going to the hoop a couple times. And I talked about that with you last night, and I talked about it with my buddy today. And I don't know if that was part of it, was not having Kofi there. Like, usually he would drop that off to somebody, but did he not have somebody he could trust down there? I mean, Payne didn't have an awful game. He was 3 for 3. He doesn't do a whole lot offensively, but he got some rebounds. I mean, Illinois out-rebounded Marquette 50-30.
Yeah.
19 offensive rebounds to 7, and you lose a game. Like, if you saw these numbers, if you looked at these numbers, besides the free throw shooting, which I know that you're on.
That's right.
It looked like Illinois should have won this game, and the 26 turnovers.
Yeah, that is inexcusable.
26 turnovers is unreal. And I saw Joey Wagner posted on Twitter that it's the most turnovers since 2017, and the first time Illinois had more than 25 since 2010. Which
that looked like the 2017 Illini.
Yeah. And the worst part about that is that Curbelo had 7 of them, and he only had 3 assists. I mean, he's your point guard. He's the guy that is leading this team and is supposed to be the distributor, and he only had 3 assists, and he had 7 turnovers, and the biggest turnover was the in-game one where Illinois was completely out of control for the last 5 minutes. And again, I don't know why Brad doesn't call timeouts. He's never done it. He didn't do it last year, but last year he had Io. I mean, Illinois doesn't have Io anymore. And I don't know if Brad forgets that. Like, hey, just give it to number 11. Oh, wait, number 11's on your bench. He only played 13 minutes.
And he shot a 3 off the side of the backboard.
Maybe he hit the backboard. But, I mean, we talked about Illinois' depth and all this stuff. Goody played a minute. Plummer played 13. BBV played 9, which I know you're not mad about. And then DeMonte had 31 off the bench. So
DeMonte was pretty good, I thought.
DeMonte was amazing.
11
DeMonte
rebounds.
was literally everywhere. And, you know, he didn't score. He didn't have open shots. But, man, he had 11 rebounds. He was impressive doing the things that DeMonte does.
So 15 turnovers between Hawkins, Curbelo, and Payne.
Yeah.
7 for Curbelo, 5 for Hawkins, 3 for Payne. And, you know, Hawkins overall, his numbers don't look terrible because he had 13 points and 8 rebounds. It was 50% from the field. But I think there's a bit of a wake-up call for him, you know.
Yeah.
The last 4 games you've played, 2 of them didn't really count. But you were playing against St. Francis and Arkansas State and Jackson State.
Right.
And this is a tougher opponent. Now, it's not like Marquette's any good. I mean, they're not. Let's be honest. I hope they end up being good. It'll make Illinois look better, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And if this was any other team, Illinois loses by 20. They don't beat a team in the Big Ten. I don't care if it's Rutgers or whoever's playing like crap right now. They lose by 20. With 26
Maybe Penn State.
turnovers.
They could probably beat Penn State. I mean, Penn State lost by $1 billion to UMass last night. So,
and the only reason that the game that Illinois was even leading towards the end is because Marquette couldn't make a free throw.
Oh my God, Marquette tried to hand him the game.
Yeah,
it's a 66-65 game. Marquette misses both free throws. And by the way, you can't blame the refs totally, but my God, did this turn into a ref show? We couldn't have been surprised because it's Bo Borowski, who's an absolute loser and terrible at his job. 31-11 in free throws.
Yeah.
31-11. That is inexcusable. I don't care how the other team's playing.
And it just seemed like every call didn't go Illinois' way. The only one that I saw really went Illinois' way is when Curbelo got out of control and he was literally running across the court and the guy went to go dive on the ball and Curbelo tripped over him. And they called the foul on Lewis, I believe it was.
And then Donnie Marshall, who's doing the color in this game, who I think he ran out of things to say in the first 5 minutes of the game. He mentions that Illinois gets bailed out there. Okay, Donnie, did you not see how many times Marquette got bailed out? Yeah. These drives to the rim that were going to amount to nothing, where they just blow the whistle. And then they swallow the whistle, which I don't disagree with swallowing the whistle late in games, but they called like 2 fouls back-to-back possessions on Marquette in the last minute. And then they swallow the whistle when Trent gets shoved to the ground and loses the ball by Morcell. They swallow the whistle there, but they kept calling fouls on every possession for Marquette before that. Yeah. It's stupid. It makes no sense.
Kick, foul, whatever you want to call that play, it didn't seem like it was.
The kick rule makes no sense.
Right, yeah.
If a ball hits somebody's foot on a pass, it's a kick ball. But if he moves his feet forward and hits the ball with his feet and then picks it up and takes it to the rim and scores, there's no call.
Yeah.
Borowski has a terrible reputation. There's a reason for that because he sucks at his job.
And the foul where what's it? How do you say his name? Quoth? Yeah.
We'll go with Quoth. That sounds good enough.
Where he goes up and tries to dunk that one. There's literally nobody around him, and they call a foul on that because he missed it. I don't know.
He tried
what
to
that
dunk on
was.
someone about 6 times and it didn't work like ever. And then the one time it's like, oh my God, that was great. He got blocked by Curbelo.
Yeah.
He's an Oklahoma reject. He stinks. Kofi would have had 40 and 30 against him.
Yep. And that's what we got to remember.
God.
We got to remember Kofi wasn't there, right?
This
I mean,
team's
that's
never
kind of the
losing
big thing.
again.
Yeah.
They're going to go 29-1. They'll be fine. I get the overreaction. You don't want to lose to Marquette. Marquette's not a good team at all. I mean, they stink. I don't know how Illinois. I thought Illinois was going to run away with it when they were up, what was it, 8 or 9 in the second, and then they just fell apart completely. I mean, it was a huge meltdown.
Yeah, and Hawkins and Curbelo had really bad games, but this was their first true road test. They got to play in empty gyms all year last year. They haven't had fans from another team, hollering, screaming, whatever. And it kind of showed. Hawkins kind of eased into it and got better. Curbelo just was never in control. And I was talking about it with my buddy, like the way that Curbelo handles the ball. Like, I know he's a great ball handler, but he's got to protect the ball better. Quouth stole 2 balls from him. Like, the center is picking your pockets, but of course he's got a 7'5" wingspan or whatever it is. So when you're dribbling the ball out in front of you, like Curbelo gets sometimes, it's easy for a guy like that to do it. So it was an ugly game. And
at what point do you just give the ball to Frazier and let him handle the ball the whole time?
They tried to at the end of the game. I mean, that was
why didn't they do that?
go-to. I don't know. I don't know. The thing
worried
is
about his shoulder.
Well, the thing is where they got the ball to Frazier is my biggest thing, is because Curbelo passed it to him. Literally, he was standing right over half court, and Marcel was up on him, and Trent really had no way to make space. And so he by what he tried to do was turn his back to get some spacing, and that's when old little dude, what's his name? Kolek came up and stripped the ball. So
if somebody's actually guarding him, he has no chance to make a shot.
Yeah, and that's why it was funny because I texted you. I'm like, why is this white dude burning by Trent all game? Well, I realized that after the dude hit back-to-back threes, why Trent was so up on him. So obviously they know more than I know. So
yeah, he's not any good. I mean, he's a George Mason transfer. George Mason's probably better than Marquette at this point. He's getting pretty overhyped for someone making wide open threes. When it was like a 10-point game, he made one to make it 7. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And
like Hawkins.
And along with Curbelo not handling the ball well, his shooting 4 of 18 last night. So 0 of 3 from 3. Still hasn't made a 3 this year, I don't believe.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, I think he's 5 of his last 48 or something.
For someone who has a shot form,
he's got a
great.
Good shot. Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean the fadeaway 3 with 8 seconds left on the shot clock was unnecessary. It seemed like Illinois also I think they must have had all 19 of their offensive rebounds like within the first 30 minutes, because I don't know if they got any after that. It seemed like every time somebody put a shot up, there wasn't an Illini down there. And I don't know if it's because they didn't expect Curbelo to shoot it or what. But like I told you, if Curbelo makes that one fadeaway 13-footer in the lane, people will talk about how bad he played, but they wouldn't care as much. And there's nothing worse than Illini Twitter after you lose, Illini fans after you lose, and you have a really bad game. And Trent was on Twitter today. Trent speaks his mind. I mean, he's a 5th-year senior. He's going to do what he wants to do. Was just kind of, shaming Illini fans. I did think that it was really good. He did say, one thing we're not going to do is bash my point guard. I'll rock with the ball in his hand every game for the last shot. Back off, ! So The locker room's got to be tighter after this, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I don't see why not. I mean, they're probably wondering why their head coach didn't show up to the game. That's probably a
yeah,
little confusing for everybody.
yeah,
I think Curbelo is going to be better from this. I think it's
yeah,
completely unfair to say that people didn't understand why he was hyped or he's overrated. I mean, you could say overrated. That's fine.
yeah.
Right now, he looks that way going into the season, but it's only been 3 games, and he only played 2 of them, and one of them he didn't play very many minutes. But this was absolutely one of the worst performances by a guard I have ever seen in the Big Ten, especially
Yeah.
as a Big Ten team.
And I think that's fair. I don't think that's bashing him. I mean, if Curbelo doesn't think that he had a bad game, then he's blind, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he just thinks too highly of himself, which I don't think he does.
Yeah, I don't know. People are calling him selfish, and he puts the I in team or some shit. I mean, that's BS.
Yeah. And the thing is, and they have reason to, though, because down the stretch, he was very selfish.
He almost had a triple-double.
Yeah.
11 points, 8 rebounds, 7 turnovers. That's pretty damn close.
I mean, he went, like I said, he went to the hoop twice, got blocked. I mean, I love Curbelo. I love his game. He's just gotta clean it up, and he's gotta slow down a little bit.
I don't get why he wasn't passing the ball at all.
I don't either. That's what that is really. Maybe just Marquette's really good at closing passing lanes.
Isn't everybody everybody who's on the floor is an everyday guy? You know, you got to trust them, right? That's kind of the thing that they do.
I think that a big thing is like the Marquette plays. I'd say more like a Big Ten team. They're very aggressive. They play good defense. So I think that this was a great matchup to get Illinois ready for Big Ten play, because I don't know if like the Cincinnati and the Arkansas game, if that's how it ends up, will get them ready like this Marquette game did. So
yeah, I think Cincinnati's more similar to the Big Ten than Arkansas is.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of what happens when you have a team that's not as talented as a lot of other teams, which is what Marquette has.
You gotta muck it up.
And you have a coach who seems a bit on the insane side, you know.
He could be at Illinois. Could have been at Illinois.
I'm glad he's not, because clearly he can't handle being in a legitimate conference. And I'm sorry, the Big East has been good, but they're not. The Big East is not good. And if they somehow win the Gavitt tip-off games, but I don't think that they're going to win another game in the gap. Yeah. Maybe Creighton beats Nebraska, but I feel like Nebraska is due for one of those. You know, I've hyped them up a little bit. They're a little better than they've been. I think that they're going to win tonight.
Yeah.
Creighton stinks.
I'd be all right with that.
6-2, Big Ten Gavitt tip-off game. 6-2, 6 straight. First 2 games didn't even count, because when you don't have the best player on each team in the Big Ten playing, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
So any Marquette or Big East fan that thinks this game counts, you're wrong.
Right. And that's the thing is everybody's like, oh, great. Well, first time they beat a number 10 team. People understand that Illinois is ranked 10 because of Kofi, not the team without Kofi.
And there's still a game that Illinois should win with or without him. Yeah. Like, we got to say,
I agree.
We're not trying to say that. Obviously, me saying it doesn't count is a joke, and if people can't tell it it's a joke, then they probably shouldn't listen to this. But Kofi is obviously the guy. You know, he changes the offense. Curbelo would actually pass the ball if Kofi was there. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got to make you feel good too, because Kofi was gone. He was selling merchandise. He was out of here, and he came back. So this is the team we would have had without him. I'm not saying that this is how this team's always going to be without him, but they were not. They were not there last night. It's amazing to me how aggressive they were rebounding, but still how poorly they played, because usually those translate. You know, if you're aggressive and you're going after the ball, it translates well. And I'm not blaming the refs at all, but when you stop momentum with whistles and all that, that also mucks up the game too. So
the refs were terrible. Hopefully that's like the bad. I hope it doesn't get worse. You know. Because that was probably the worst officiated game I've seen from Illinois in an Illinois game the last few years. I mean, the Indiana game last season was pretty bad. But it's what you get with Borowski. He's terrible. His crew sucks. I mean, they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Their calls don't make any sense. It was a total ref show for most of the game.
Yeah.
Illinois missed a chance to step on their throat when Trent was making everything.
Yeah.
And
Illinois got to find a way to finish games, and that's in. You saw that with Kofi, or with Io back before I'd say his freshman year, he couldn't finish games. And then he started, finishing games. They're going to have to find a way to finish without him. Because none of these guys had to, none of these guys had to play in these games and know that they're getting the ball. So,
yeah, I don't know. I just think that this is probably going to be a good test for them in terms of next time they're in a situation like this. You would think that they would know what to do.
Yeah, if nothing else, this is a great learning experience, which you hate to lose games to learn, but some of the best things come out of losses. So
it's easy to say this now, but I feel like Illinois going into the season, if you don't know who they're playing, but they don't have Kofi and they lost to a Big East opponent and then beat two terrible teams and they're 2-1 without Kofi, I would take it. But I also am annoyed that number one, the Big East is not what it's been, and Marquette's not very good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We don't know anything.
We're just here to rant a little bit.
Very confused at the way Underwood approached this game, though. I will say.
I
feel like he didn't coach at all. Like they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything special. They didn't.
They run their sets and they play defense.
And they rebound and then don't do anything when they rebound. Like they had. It feels like they had a possession where they had like 4 offensive rebounds and like maybe scored at the end, but
he did hold Hawkins back from getting teed up. So
that's good. Yeah.
I guess that was
also. Good. What is this delay a game BS? Curbelo throws the ball back to the ref, and the ref gets all pissy about it. But then, like 2 minutes later, Lewis makes the layup and hits the ball away from the ref. What is that?
Yeah.
And that was the second time Marquette's done that. Shouldn't that be a technical? That's what they said. 2 delay games is technical. Yeah. Curbelo, oh my God, the whore. He grabbed the ball and threw it to the ref. Are you kidding me?
And see that, and that's what I'm saying with the refs is it seemed like everything was going Marquette's way. I'm sure Illinois is going to have games like that down the road, right? Illinois is going to have games where people are going to be like, "Oh, Illinois is getting every call."
But I mean, Jesus,
can we? Yeah,
did Shaka take some of the money that he is getting on this contract, or maybe get some of the money he's getting from Texas, if he is getting any money from Texas, to the refs, slip him a few bucks?
I noticed that you put on Illini gear. Maybe we were the reason for the loss.
I was thinking that too. I mean, that could be a big problem here. So looking, I guess we could do the preview of Cincinnati now, but I guess we could wait till later in the week.
Yeah, let's do it later. I haven't.
Just a quick look at them before we get into a couple other things. They are 106th on KenPom, which is worse than Marquette. And their wins are they beat Evansville by 22. Evansville is a terrible Missouri Valley Conference team. Nailed that. Mm-hmm. And then they beat Georgia by 5. Georgia is horrendous in the SEC. Tom Crean not having a good time at Georgia. They're bad. They've had one player who was any good played there in the last 10 years. That's Anthony Edwards, who's the number 1 overall pick. They didn't even make the tournament with him. So actually, I don't think there was a tournament, but I don't think they were going to make it. But so Cincinnati's worse than Marquette. So that's what you look forward to. And they still have 2. Actually,
he's going to be back.
He is. That is seems to be big news. Cincinnati will likely be 4-0 going into that game. They have 2 more.
When do they play next?
Tonight and Thursday.
TV?
Probably not. They're playing Alabama A&M.
Like to do some scouting.
ESPN Plus, probably.
You buy that, don't you? Can I use yours?
I don't know why you don't have it. I mean, it's a beautiful service.
Because I can just use yours.
I mean, it's a pretty good service, though.
Don't let anybody know that, though.
What you do is you get the Hulu and the Disney Plus and the ESPN Plus all in one.
Well, see, I use somebody else's Disney Plus.
Jesus.
And I don't need Hulu, so.
Jesus. So Cincinnati seems to be a pretty good defensive team. That's something to look at. They play Alabama A&M and
scoring affair.
Presbyterian. And by the way, I told you that maybe you should give a little bit of respect to Marquette. Like, you think Illinois is going to just go in there and drop 87 and win by 17? I felt like that was little much.
Dude, I was really expecting Illinois just come out and just show who they were, and maybe they did.
You were doing the 80-year-old comment from last night. Every person who's 85 years old on the internet was saying, "Oh, they were too busy reading their press clippings in the off season and stuff." Yeah, so you were too busy reading.
What do we
the press
tell people like that?
Just smoke some weed and shut up, which is a clip that I could pull up within like just smoke some weed and shut up. My God. That's what they should do. And here's the thing. Press clippings? What year is this? Jesus. I mean, I saw like 5 comments about that in the last on 2 different. I saw it on Facebook and on Twitter.
No, you know what they're doing? They're reading hateful Twitter speech from Illini fans right now. Is what
I feel like most of them were probably reading like Hawkins and Curbelo. No offense to them, they just with the activity and the amount of times they're on social media, most of the comments I see are probably about how great they are. I mean, if we're just being honest, which is nothing wrong with that, but
sure,
press clippings is a term that was really, famous when FDR was maybe JFK, that era. So it's been a while. And the people that said that conveniently were around then. And they were like, there's probably a guy who was like 40 years old when JFK was president, which means he's about 101 now. So that makes sense that he would say, looks like Curbelo is too busy reading his press clippings. Yeah.
Yes.
I would use that term as a joke, but I don't think anybody was. I think they were all dead serious. So
correct.
If you thought Curbelo was bad last season in some games, last night topped it. I think there's no doubt. But Illinois and Cincinnati is a projected 13-point win for Illinois. Illinois still has the number 1 defense on KenPom, which makes sense because their defense wasn't really the problem last night. It was the turning the ball over, just giving the Marquette points and then fouls.
Yeah.
So who had the most fouls?
The whole game was ugly. Payne had 4. Grandison had 4. Curbelo had 4.
Frazier 3. Williams 3. Hawkins 3. That is ridiculous.
Nobody fouled out, surprisingly.
The only dude on Marquette who had 4 was Lewis, and then everybody else had 1, 2, or 0.
Mm-hmm.
So seems about right. Arkansas is number 19 on KenPom, so that's going to be a bigger test if that happens. I mean, Kansas State, you never know. Kansas State, who knows? Mark Smith can figure out how to shoot.
Yeah.
I think I have an 8 podcast episode streak of mentioning Mark Smith.
Is that something we're working on?
Someone would call that pathetic. Some people would say that that's totally badass. I would say it's totally badass, but is what it is. Other things from last night's game, the announcers stunk.
Yeah.
Gauden's pretty good. Donnie Marshall just seemed like he was reading like a bunch of bullet points, and then he ran out of them by the end of the first half because he sounded like a robot.
Yeah. I think they said something about it'll be interesting to see what Underwood will do with Kofi once he's back.
Yeah, that seems really interesting, guys. I mean, wow. Go stand by the lane and dunk the basketball. That's very interesting to see.
Yes.
Oh, it's a 7-foot All-American who's probably second on the preseason Player of the Year list. Wow, it's going to be very interesting. Are they going to be really the real question they should have asked is, wow, can they implement him into this offense? I don't know if that'll work. Man, how do they get him in there? Is he good enough to be playing for this team? That's what it made it sound like.
Yeah. So in Goody's 1 whole minute that he played, did he do anything wrong? I mean, his stat line's literally 1 assist in 1 minute, and then didn't play again.
Underwood forgot, I think, is what happened.
Oh, I forgot he was on the bench. That's right.
Yeah. And Hutcherson, when do you think we'll see him?
Supposedly he's warming up with the team.
He's supposed to be the Lord and Savior of this team.
In his uniform, and then he wore sweats during the game. So
I'm thinking
getting a workout in.
Maybe next Monday. That's an entire week. How do you think the week of practice is going to be for them? Jesus, good luck. Underwood should make himself do something too, because he was just as bad as everybody else last night.
True.
And I have not done what I would have done in the past. I didn't jump to the Underwood stinks, worst coach ever conclusion. I'm just saying, wasn't his best night.
I think you're saying a lot of what other people are saying.
I didn't see enough criticism of Underwood, honestly. I feel like there should have been a little more heat, because this is a true road test.
That's because Curbelo went 4 of 18.
I know.
with
But can
7 turnovers.
maybe, hey, have we thought about the fact that Underwood could have been reading his press clippings?
Yeah, true. He would be one that would read press clippings.
We
He's
don't know,
old enough.
folks. That is
He's old
mean.
enough.
But so Hutcherson is supposed to be the Lord and Savior of this team. And as I mentioned to you earlier, have we seen God and Austin Hutcherson in the same room? Because I don't think we have. And if we haven't, maybe it's true. Maybe he comes in and you think he starts?
No, 0
Okay.
chance.
If he plays 2 games and he looks good, does he start after that?
No, because he apparently is very fragile. And I think that if he plays more than 15 minutes the first 5 games, I'd be impressed.
Let's keep it on the goodie pace. 1 minute a game.
1 minute a game.
I like that. So you think the lineup next Monday is going to be Curbelo, Frazier, Grandison, Hawkins, Kofi?
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know.
Curbelo to send a message.
Actually, no.
Plummer?
I think DeMonte might get his spot back.
Over who? Hawkins?
Yeah.
I think you bench Curbelo and Hawkins to send a message.
Yeah.
Of course, Underwood doesn't have the balls to do that.
Put Goody in.
I don't know. I'd put Plummer in there and Hutcherson. Since he's supposed to be so good, I'd love to see that.
You missed him in that exhibition game.
Or BBV. Hey, how good is he? Yeah. Glad he wasted 4 possessions, including going to his left hand and throwing it off of the shot clock from 2 feet away.
Yeah. I think only one of his shots was actually decent.
Why is he even touching the ball? He is there to rebound.
Nobody else.
And play defense. They have other guys.
You got to work the ball inside.
Lieb could have done what he did last night. Except Lieb probably would have made one of the 4.
True.
Like BBV, do you switch to football if you're him?
I mean, Illinois' football team could use some players.
Exactly, because they are bad at the sport. They're bad at it.
They win 2 more. They're in a bowl game, right? I did see somewhere where there's not going to be enough teams that are 6-win teams, and Illinois is the number 1 in academic whatever. So if they win 5, they could still get a bowl game.
They got Penn State and Minnesota wins. Those should mean something.
All right.
A couple of huge road wins. Plus UTSA, who they lost to early in the season, is a ranked team.
10-0.
And that was a close game. So how about that?
Yeah.
Think about that. Also, I saw that the head coach for the football squad is out.
He is.
On Saturday. I'm sure that's going to – maybe they'll lose by 25 instead of 20. How about that? Even worse. Man. I don't know. The basketball team has turned it around, though. So it's nice to be another question is, where do you think they'll be ranked after this? I'm thinking 18. In 22, wow. I feel like they should take a little bit of the Kofi into effect.
I think they will. Yeah, I agree.
You know how conservative these AP guys are when it comes to ranking teams.
But, I mean, there's some guys that had Illinois 17 or whatever.
Yeah, it's also all about what you do.
Like that Connor guy we had on the March Madness thing had Illinois like 19 before this.
Yeah, it's it is what it is.
He's your friend, too.
Seems like a good enough guy. So it depends on what teams do around you. Like Kentucky dropped 3 or 4 spots after losing to Duke, so that matters. Speaking of which, just to touch on this, the whole Duke thing with Boncaro and Coach K's grandson. Yeah. Do you think that they get a longer suspension than Kofi? Boncaro won't. There's no way.
I don't So from everything we've been told or whatever, the NCAA doesn't even do anything with this. So this is going to be on Duke.
And Duke's not going to do anything about it.
From what people are saying, probably his grandson will get 3 games, and Boncaro will get 1 or 2 because he was sitting in the car or whatever.
Yeah, I don't really think that Boncaro, from what people are saying, really did anything that would say that he should be suspended for a long time.
Well, they did say Boncaro was sitting in the car. I know. I said it like that because you're trying to correct me.
I wasn't really trying to.
Anyways, this is the Illini Basketball Podcast.
Well, it relates to Kofi.
Have we reached our time limit yet?
I'm thinking about 18 more seconds. So, do you think that Kofi, if it would have been in Illinois' hands to suspend Kofi, if that was what it was, even though it was the NCAA because of their dog shit rules, you don't think? Yeah, I don't think they would have either because it's not that big of a deal. Game. it's not even that big of a deal.
Maybe the 2 exhibitions in the first game. Like,
Can Kofi not appeal that suspension?
Does it matter? It's over.
I'm just saying, could he have appealed it and gotten like 2?
I don't think so.
It's so ridiculous. And what is the meter for 3 games? What do you have to do to get? Do they have like a chart? Oh, you do this, you get 3 games. You do this, you get 2 games.
Probably got a spreadsheet somewhere.
They probably just spin a goddamn wheel and they popped up 3. There you go. Stupid.
True. So
yeah. So I don't know when we're gonna do the preview for the Cincinnati game. But that game is
Sunday.
Yeah, that'd be fine. 5:30 Central is that game next Monday. ESPN News is what it's on.
Sweet.
So have fun with that. November
watch
22nd.
Party, as long as we're not working.
As long as you're good to go, we'll do one of those.
Yep.
This is the.
Then you can see how we were yelling at the TV yesterday. And I was yelling timeout 932 times. Scared my dogs.
I was just shocked.
Brad.
I was stunned. That's what I was, because that was the worst sequence to end a game. I was like, oh my God, they missed both free throws. Here we go. Go back down the floor. Are they going to foul? You're just going to, hold the ball? And then it turned into a disaster. But so they'll have that game. Then they'll have probably Arkansas if they win that game. If they lose that game, 2-2, play K-State. I feel like that would be kind of fun to destroy K-State. But then you have UT Rio Grande, which is the day after Thanksgiving. And then Notre Dame on the Monday at ESPN2 Big Ten ACC Challenge. Yeah. So and then,
I mean, really, they only have, 2 games that aren't, or 3 games. They got Grande Valley.
They do have them, yes.
And then
St. Francis, PA, Florida A&M in December. Arizona is another game they play. They play Rutgers in Iowa early December, Mizzou on the 22nd, and then the Big Ten really starts Minnesota. So Ben Johnson can get a welcome to the Big Ten in January against Illinois as Underwood continues to own. And real quick, since we've talked about Underwood the way that we have today, what coaches come to the top of your mind when you think about coaches that own Underwood and coaches that he owns? Because I was thinking about that last night at halftime for some reason.
I mean, obviously he owns Howard and Painter. Who owns Brad Underwood? You tell me.
Seems like Shaka does. I wonder how it went for Texas and Oklahoma State, because they say they played twice in the Big 12, but they never said who won. Like Underwood at Stephen F. Austin beat Shaka in the tournament, but I don't know. Izzo obviously owns him. Other than that, I mean, seems like he pretty much owns Fran for the most part. Yeah.
Is there any team that has beat him every year? Kwanzaa owns him. I mean, yeah. That's yep.
What is Underwood's record? 1-4, 1-3 against Missouri, something like that.
Has he beat? Yeah, he beat him his first year, right?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. First year.
Because Iowa went 0-3 versus Missouri.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
It really is. But and then you have coaches who, it's kind of like a mutual, I beat you sometimes, you beat me sometimes. Peichel, Rutgers.
That's the game they shouldn't have lost last year.
Pitino and Archie Miller he owned big time. So those guys are gone. Too bad for Pitino. It was always fun to just beat the piss out of Minnesota when he was there, but especially last year. I mean, what was Illinois' point differential with Minnesota last season? Like 70 in 2 games? Ridiculous. But yep, that's you remember when Kofi dominated Liam Robbins and Oturu? He would have been doing that to Quaff last night, and Quaff stinks. So yeah, congrats to Marquette. Whatever. Hope you got your only big victory out of the way, because you ain't winning much more. Illinois moves on. We'll see you at the end of this week. We'll preview Cincinnati, watch party, all that stuff. Then Arkansas. Okay, bye.